What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. Normally with these videos, I would break this down into slides and into topics so it's easy to follow, but I saw this and this was just the most insane take and horrendous take, yet it's very opinionated. And one of the worst things one of the most annoying things on the planet, and was when people are highly opinionated that don't know jack about the full circumstances. It's that Dunning-Kruger effect to some extent. Like, they feel really knowledgeable when the knowledge level is very low. And that's what I see happening here with True Geordie on the Pain Game. This is the most insane and insulting take, in my opinion, on Khamzat Chimaev. And with this guy, like, he's got a massive following, 500,000 subscribers on the Pain Game. He's got like over 2 million subs on his regular channel. And like, I just don't understand the spouting off about Khamzat Chimaev's performance, saying, hey, fine. You want to say it was impressive and boring? I hear a lot of other people, even a lot of other fighters, saying that. But the reason that all the things that he says about Khamzat Chimaev in this video are mind blowing. I think he at one point says, this last victory over Dricus du Plessis means hype train derailed, which is insane because it's the exact opposite that has happened. Now everybody's saying that who is going to beat Khamzat Chimaev. And if you're saying hype train derailed because he's boring, that's 1 out of 9 fights in the UFC that people have ever called boring. Like, this whole take is the most nonsensical take on the planet. At least I would have hoped, if you're going to make such a strong assertion, do your homework, do your research, because I just find it to be really insulting. And on top of the fact that this is a huge moment in mixed martial arts, to see somebody do that as the challenger, have such a dominant performance. Yes, there wasn't a finish, but to do this, and it is truly something to marvel at. On top of that, he's basically putting the entire blame for how the fight went on Khamzat, which even DDP's coach has said we have to take responsibility for also how that fight unfolded. So there's so many things that I want to go through and stop and comment on this video that we're just going to play it and sort of slowly stop along the way. It's just too many things, like too many nonsensical statements that he makes to like break it up how I normally do with slides and titles and all that stuff. So let's just get right into the mix of it. I'm going to be stopping a lot. Every time I hear some nonsense, I'm going to stop and I'm going to explain my perspective and my thoughts as to why he's just saying complete garbage in terms of being an MMA analyst. I know he even will admit he's somewhat of a casual fan, but like, this take is just so bad. And to go out and put something out like this when you have this big of an audience, I just find it ridiculous. So I want to give my clarification and I want to give my insights as to the reality of all the things that he's saying and what, just why it's nonsense. Okay, here we go. True Geordie. Wow. I don't think I can ever take any of his MMA takes seriously ever again. Here we go.
Khamzat Chimaev is now the middleweight champion of the UFC. And as amazing of an achievement as that is, it took so much longer than I thought he would. And it's taken such a different path than I originally expected. He burst onto the scene. He was so exciting to watch that after a whole bunch of hiccups and problems and a title fight that really didn't live up to the hype. As great a talent as Khamzat is, it just felt anticlimactic. This was Khamzat's debut in the UFC. He stopped Phillips with a submission here, and it was impressive. It was so impressive that they let Khamzat come back just 10 days later for another fight.
Okay. Given the backstory, he's got it right so far, right? But okay.
Seen anything like it. Like, the whole of the UFC fan base were like, 10 days later, what the fuck are we watching here? So dominant each time he stepped in the cage. So they put him back in the cage a couple of months later, and this is how he delivered. I mean, it was just one of the most exciting beginnings of a UFC career that we'd ever seen. And it's like, not only can he wrestle, not only can he, submit you, the guy can knock you clean out with the first punch of the fight. And I understand that it was almost impossible to live up to that level of hype to start off with. But to say the hype train was derailed would be the understatement of a century. He was the hottest.
That's wild, because I'm pretty sure no matter what people say, even people like Justin, who's basically said, yeah, he found the fight boring, nobody would ever say that the hype train is derailed from this fight. It's just bonkers. Yes, there was no finish. There wasn't like a fast finish. And again, the reason why people are calling it boring is because of the expectations on Khamzat to be so exciting, to start lightning fast, to just steamroll and buzzsaw through competitors. So you have to bear that in mind as well. So yeah, he had one fight where that didn't happen, but think about On the other side, to say the hype train is derailed, what do you mean? Like, also, what you think now it's like every fight's going to be like this? You have to look at the totality of circumstances, and to make this strong assertion, hype train derailed, without properly understanding all the nuances of the fight is crazy. So I'm going to break it down a little bit, and then we're going to go on, and I'm sure I'm going to have to interject at other points. But to say hype trains derailed is insane. Dricus du Plessis was 9-0 in the UFC, undefeated. He smashed Robert Whittaker, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland twice. He went through an entire list of fighters and seemed to just blast through everybody, undefeated middleweight champion. And then Khamzat goes in and dominates him in that dominant position for like 22 minutes of the fight, which people thought was impossible. On top of that, the reason why there wasn't a finish and you thought it was so boring is also because Dricus was either unable or unwilling to really try and get up. He was trying to explode out of the crucifix position, but he wasn't able to, but he was keeping it very safe. You're saying, he says later on that Khamzat should have taken more risks. You could argue the same thing about DDP. He could have taken more risks to try and explode out or maybe get a different position on the bottom, but he didn't. And the whole time, if you actually know what's going on, Khamzat was trying to get submissions. And it's not like he was holding him down. He landed. Now, granted, they weren't significant. It wasn't like the ground and pound that you maybe want to see, but he landed over 500 strikes. How can you say that he was just sitting there and the hype train is derailed from this incredible performance? On top of that, Mark Goddard stood them up twice when he shouldn't have. So you have to think, like, you don't mention any of that because obviously you're not paying attention properly, and you're just like going on a rant about Khamzat having a hype train derailed when it's the exact opposite. So this take has already got me so heated because it's so nonsensical and just the exact opposite of what everybody else is feeling. Everybody else who knows just the little small smidge about the MMA world is saying the exact opposite, that the hype has been vindicated. The hype has been proven true for him to do that. And on top of that, I know you say later you're not so into the grappling or whatever, but to maintain the crucifix position for as long as he did is unheard of. So that's my 2 cents right off the bat. Let's jump in and hear what other crazy stuff he has to say.
Prospect in the UFC. He'd had 3 stoppages in 3 months. Then COVID took him out for a year, and it was talk of retirement. It was like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Will we ever see him again? And we went from 3 fights in 3 months to 6 fights in 5 years.
Okay. I don't really know what the point is here. I don't think that, that happened. Let's go to his Tapology page so I can give some context. Like, he's freaking out about the inactivity here. But understand what happened. So yes, you're getting the numbers right. But remember, first of all, these fights were all canceled. Yeah, he had long COVID. I don't know what you want from the guy. Then you're giving the overall numbers, but look at the details. He had 2 fights in 2020. Well, actually, this is not really a fight, but this is important. This Jack Hermanson grappling and wrestling match. So he fought here on October 30th. He clearly could have had another fight. He was ready to go because he went and did this grappling match on November 19th. He had no injuries. He picked up Li Jingling, the leech, walked him over to the corner and choked him out. So he was fine. He was ready to go, obviously, but then he didn't get his next fight made for whatever reason. Probably also, I'm sure it wasn't just like Gilbert Burns was available right off the bat, but they made this bout in April of 2022. So right here, he was supposed to have these 2 fights, but he got sick multiple times, finally recovered, which is actually a triumphant story because he thought he had cancer at one point. Yes, he nearly retired, and that was health issues. I don't see you're like making an expression on your face like this is some huge problem. Dude, the guy, like, what about what? So when Conor was recovering from his severed tibia, were you giving him crap? Dude, this inactivity is really bad. It's like, yeah, he couldn't walk. It was the same thing. He could not fight. He was so sick. And then we come in here and he has a fight here in April and then again in September in 2022. That's great activity. Then we come up to this point in October 2023. Granted, now this is some time. He was supposed to fight. Oh, no, that's we'll get to Robert Whittaker in a second. So then we get to the Kamaru Usman fight. And granted, he had to wait some time for that. But remember, at this point, when you're a top competitor in this division, a lot of things had changed. He missed weight here, okay? He ended up moving up to middleweight. He was supposed to fight Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa backed out. Why was the fight scheduled in October? Was it solely Khamzat? We don't know. There's so many nuances. So this is the narrative that I guess Dean Thomas was saying, that he's going to be inactive. But you have to look at the rationale and the reasoning. I'm sure also it's not easy for Khamzat to get a fight because look at what happened. People saw that he was a very dangerous opponent. When he's not champ, it's such a high risk to reward that I'm sure it wasn't easy to find a fight. Then we come into the Robert Whittaker fight. In this one right here, it got pushed back, if you remember, because he was super ill. Yes, he has immune system problems, but I do believe that has been resolved because he said in an interview prior to the rescheduling of the fight when he got this crazy face crank, he got half of his thyroid removed and now seems to be doing better, is training better, is not overtraining, he's not training in the heat. So all of these things are strengthening his immune system and making him less inclined to get sick. And then, of course, you're saying there's a big gap here. Dude, he was obviously next in line for the title. I don't know why the UFC didn't put him up for the title against Dricus back in January when he fought Sean Strickland the second time. I guarantee you he wasn't injured as far as I can tell. I believe that he got the victory so quickly. I'm sure he was ready to fight in January. This is my guess. I am speculating here, but I believe that the reason why they gave DDP basically a rematch against Sean Strickland is because I think they promised Sean Strickland that fight. So Khamzat is not going to take another fight when he's guaranteed the title shot next. And on top of that, Khamzat wanted to fight during International Fight Week. He was disappointed when the fight didn't get made for June 29. So that's why I got pushed another 2 months to August. I'm just saying you have to look at the totality to make these assertions just by looking at broad numbers and not diving in deeply. I feel like it's just doing everybody who's watching your videos a major disservice. And again, the thing that bothers me is he's coming out so hot out the gate against Khamzat and all this stuff. And it's just like, dude, you have a big following. Just do a tiny bit of research before you go spout all this stuff. All right, let's keep going.
I mean, he had a very tough fight with Gilbert Burns, and I mean, what we got robbed there, man. Gilbert Burns, you know, he wasn't a UFC champion, but he was a highly respected contender. But I think that was a bit of a reality check for everyone on Khamzat of like, where is he right now? And he clearly has weaknesses. He then came back and
it's like, okay, yeah, it was a tough fight. It's so funny. Khamzat was ranked number 11th. Okay, the only reason why people were saying that is because he had been steamrolled everybody up to that point. It's not that he had weaknesses. It was, oh, he's a human being. He's not a superhero. He's not like Miss Captain America or something like that. Yeah, and also in that fight, he still won. He was ranked number 11, and he beat Gilbert Burns, who was number 2 at the time. I put this in my documentary all about Khamzat. That should have been a moment of celebration. Oh my God, number 11 steps up and gets the victory. Instead, because of this crazy expectation for Khamzat just to bulldoze through everybody, the fact that there was some resistance, even though he still won 2-1, everybody's like, oh my God, he's terrible. It's like he won 2-1 and he won against the number 2 contender who had just had a title shot. Gilbert Burns at this point was at the top of his game. The last thing I'll say about this, you might say this is a little bit of cope, but his coach has even said that he did not follow the game plan. He chose to stand and bang way more than he tried to get Gilbert to the ground. Part of that reason might have been because he was afraid of the jiu-jitsu that Gilbert had, so maybe he wanted to keep it on the feet, but his coaches said they were trying to get him to take it to the ground and he didn't. I don't know why. Maybe it was that. Maybe he just wanted to prove that he could stand and bang. But anyways, there's the context.
Admitted Kevin Hollands, but unfortunately he missed weight, and you're just thinking there's always something with this guy. And that was basically the end of his time as a welterweight, which was a shame because a lot of people were thinking he could be a 2-weight world champion. He is that good, but you just can't trust him to even make weight. Then we seen him in with Kamaru.
Can't trust him to make weight at 170. He missed weight one time, and they told him to stop cutting weight. That's why he was so over. He said that he felt like he could have made it. And there is a whole theory. I'm not saying it's legit, but there is a whole theory that the UFC actually asked him to stop cutting weight because they started to realize it was going to be a bad look for him to fight Nate Diaz because he would have probably steamrolled Nate Diaz for sure. So then he stopped. He weighed in at like 178 and he fought Kevin Holland, and it is what it is. But now he's in the middleweight division. He's never missed weight in the middleweight division. I think he was last to weigh in against Robert Whittaker. That's not missing weight. I think he weighed in at 186. That's fine. He hit it. So I don't even know why you're mentioning this, that he can't be trusted to make weight. And if you remember, you probably don't remember, probably didn't pay attention, but he weighed in at 183 against DDP for the title fight. You have to hit 185 on the dot. He actually got 2 pounds under. His training is dialed in. All of these fears and concerns are just like the most casual takes I've ever seen.
Usman a whole year later between fights, and as you can see here, Usman gave him some problems, and the key with this fight was Usman took this on like a week's notice. So as much as we respect Usman, he's one of the all-time greats in my opinion, Usman had just rolled out of bed. Actually, a lot of people before that fight were actually saying that Usman is over the hill, is done. I think Usman proved a lot considering how many other people have struggled with Khamzat, and again it left us with more questions than answers about Khamzat of where.
Not at all. This is like the worst take ever. Rolled out of bed. Yeah, it was on 10 days notice, but I guarantee you he was in shape and he didn't have to cut weight. So he just fought at his natural weight. You could say he was a little on the smaller side, but again, Usman actually was probably one of the best competitors because of the grappling. And then you're saying that people were saying that he was over the hill and past his prime. He came off of 2 very competitive fights against Leon Edwards. I mean, the first one he was winning and then he got head kick KO. The second one, yeah, Leon Edwards did his thing. And remember, after the Khamzat fight, he went out and rocked Joaquin Buckley, who everybody was picking to beat Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman dominated Joaquin Buckley. So clearly, he's not past his prime. That did not raise any questions. It's just a testament to how amazing Kamaru Usman is. He's one of the greats, honestly, of the sport, one of the best welterweight champs. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another shot at the belt in the welterweight title. So to say that this all of a sudden like cast doubt, I don't know. It's crazy. Plus, you're not even you're just probably looking at the who we fought and like the trouble. Do you remember round 1 against Kamaru Usman? It wasn't rolling out of bed again. Kamaru Usman's the type of guy that's training all the time. And also, Khamzat was planning to fight Paulo Costa, so he had to completely change his game plan at the last minute. Nobody talks about that either. And then he goes in, completely 10-8 Kamaru Usman in the first round. More questions than answers. Yeah, I mean, more questions than answers in terms of, oh my God, how good is Khamzat really? Then he injured his hand. I know I'm making it, you might say I'm making excuses. That's just the truth. And then he goes out and does what he does, but he still gets he wins round 2 on one of the judges' scorecards, wins round 3 on one of the judges' scorecards. Kamaru won it on the other 2, but he still gets the victory and boom. I thought it was pretty impressive all around considering the domination in round 1 and winning despite the hand injury.
Where the hell is his level really? And I think the fight that really gave us some of those answers was Robert Whittaker. You know, we all rate Robert Whittaker very highly. One of the best middleweights of all time. All right, he might not be the best. He just absolutely mauled him. And he didn't maul him in a way of just lying on top of him and not doing anything. He did it in such a way where it was so aggressive. He was fighting for the finish. It was so impressive. You see here, get some distance between the two, starts wailing on him with them punches, and manages to sink the choke in and immediately taps out Robert Whittaker. He had such a grip on his face that he kind of crushed his teeth into his fucking skull. That, for me, was the rocket ship moment for Khamzat. It was an amazing win, his best win ever, in the best way possible. And now it was time to put the rocket ship on him and take this kid to the moon. He is the next big star in the UFC.
Now, another thing you didn't point out, which I'll actually point out for the sake of the Khamzat haters who are probably screaming this right now, you also didn't mention that Robert Whittaker had a pre-existing injury. So I still think it was super impressive to have the scrambles and have that control for the entire duration and then lock in the face crank. And even as Laura Senko said, if he didn't get the face crank, eventually he would have probably gotten a rear naked choke because he was just in such a great position. He was floating on top. So just again, another fact that has been left out that I do think is pertinent. That being said, I do think, to me, it still blew me away for everything leading up to that face crank and the teeth getting pushed in.
In mind, he'd actually had to pull out of that fight against Robert Whittaker previous to that and come back later in the year to do it. And despite all of the good signs and the excitement after that fight.
Yeah, and by the way, why did he pull out? Like, again, it's the immune system issues. If you follow along the story, yes, since COVID, he's had major problems with his immunity. But he's gotten thyroid surgery since, came back, had it done, and had the amazing performance against Robert Whittaker. Half of his thyroid removed. That's insane. And then comes back and does this and says he wants to fight in October, is ready to go, basically sustained no damage in that fight. I mean, if you are trying to paint him as somebody who is constantly going to have inactivity issues, you have to look more at the specific nature of those circumstances and what was going on, also what has been remedied since.
It was another fucking year of sitting around and waiting for Khamzat to fight again. And that, for me, is a massive red flag for the UFC.
It's not a red flag because I already explained the reason why he sat around for an effing year, as you said, is because he was next in line for the title. For whatever reason, the UFC decided to make Dricus versus Sean Strickland next. They could have made DDP versus Khamzat back in January, I think. I think they didn't because they had promised, like I said, Strickland that shot. And then Khamzat had to wait. What do you want him to do? Take a fight in between when he's already set up to be next in line for the title? The take is just completely illogical.
UFC, because you can't, strap the promotional rocket ship on him and push this guy to the moon. If he's not fighting regularly, you look at the Adesanyas, the Pereiras, the fighters who have crossed over into the mainstream. And I believe Khamzat has the personality, the talent, and all of the things to do that. But he just doesn't turn up regularly. Once a fucking year, when you've been, in your mid-20s to early 30s, the prime of your career, the time where you're fighting more than ever, it makes no fucking sense to me. I don't know if
yeah, because you haven't done any research and you haven't dove in. You just simply simply looked at the blanket statement of 5 fights in 6 years or 6 fights in 5 years, whatever you said at the beginning, and you haven't looked at the specifics of the nature of like what was happening. And you do remember he had crazy activity before. He wants more activity now, and he's even saying he's ready to go in October. I bet you he gets a fight within the next like 5 months would be my guess. It's just going to depend on availability. I don't think he's going to fight in October because they already have a main event. What are they going to have Khamzat like co-main? It wouldn't really make sense. All of this to say, it doesn't turn up. I guess we'll just have to see. We'll have to let time tell. But I guarantee you these activity issues are going to be passed, because one of the things, again, that you probably don't even know about is that he has had crazy visa issues. One isn't able to get in the U.S. Now he can because of the new president, and also the health issues. So you take the two in combination, and it's going to be a different situation. You're just not diving into the details, but yet deciding to like trash Khamzat, it's crazy.
He can't be asked. I don't know what the problem is, but it ain't normal. Which brings us on to the Dricus du Plessis fight. Now, Dricus has been a hell of a champion, and I had high hopes for this fight. I was really excited.
I gotta ask, what is up with the jump cuts? This is the most aggravating thing to watch in the world. It's like, how many takes are you doing and you're splicing it all? Let me know in the comments. Do you guys find that annoying? Can you just do a straight take, talk to the camera? I don't understand why it's that hard. The jump cuts are driving me insane. Let me know if you agree.
Excited to see these two lock horns. Now, it started exactly how I thought it would. I mean, Khamzat, 5 seconds, goes for the takedown, and he's on top, and he's in control. But previously, where we've seen that control turn into ground and pound, submissions, damage, he just didn't want to take any kind of risks to
What? He didn't want to take any kind of risk. Dude, you can't say that because you have admitted yourself you're not that familiar with MMA and the grappling part of the game, and you want to get in there and see strikes. Like, you're saying he didn't take any risks. He was trying to go for submissions. Yeah, maybe anybody can take more risks and posture up and go crazy, but maintaining that position was such a smart move. But on top of that, he landed. You can say what you will. If you're landing over 500 strikes, that's not somebody not taking any risks. He could have taken potentially more risks. You can always do that. But would it have been advised? No. And on top of that, you have to give credit to DDP. He was trying to get submissions. DDP had trained. His coach said he trained the entire camp to get in these bad positions and protect against the submission. They thought that they were going to wait out Khamzat. And so instead of like fighting like heck or trying to pull something off from the bottom, he was also playing it safe. To put it all on Khamzat is crazy. Listen, you got to do a little bit more research. Like, listen to the interview of DDP's coach. He himself admits that some of the blame rests with DDP for the quote-unquote boring fight.
Do that. And poor Dricus, he was a fish out of water on the ground. I mean, he did not have a fucking clue. And look, the crucifix pin, it's very effective when you've still got enough distance to do the damage. But, you know, and early on in the fight, there's a little bit of zip on these, but Dricus covered up. I mean, those punches were doing fuck all. They were doing nothing. And fight fans, we don't tune in to see this do it. Not at all.
You don't know, dude. Just even Robert Whitaker, who's a fighter who you quote later in this, and you play one of his clips. You obviously didn't watch the whole thing. I bet this guy has somebody like pulling clips for him, and probably didn't watch the whole interview himself, because he himself said that those punches probably did add up and did do damage because of the totality and the number. He's like, mate, even if they weren't that hard, it's like 500. Obviously, some damage is going to happen. He's also rocking the ear, probably disrupted his balance. I'm not saying it was the craziest ground and pound, but it's like, man, it's just like you're speaking with such authority, but yet you yourself admit that you're not really a deep fan of mixed martial arts and don't know that much about grappling. This whole video is just blowing my mind.
And when du Plessis did have energy early on the fight, he tried to explode out and get out. He just didn't have the know-how. You know, as strong a guy as he is, he's just struggling like fuck and just gets taken down every single time. The levels between, you know, the wrestling of these two was insanely big, considering Chimaev is the challenger. And in the second round, du Plessis changed as a fighter. He's already thinking negatively, defensively. He's not able to be the confident, offensive fighter that he is. He's an attacker. He's a front-runner fighter. He's just a shadow of himself mentally within 5 minutes of stepping in there. And Khamzat was just content to just lay on him, drain him, and not really achieve a great deal, but know that you're draining the guy's gas tank. That was enough to win the round. Round 3, and you can just tell du Plessis.
he's not just sitting there and draining him. I don't even think this guy watched the fight or understand. He's probably just looking at the statistics and seeing not the level, not those like listed submission attempts, because he wasn't able to get under the neck or really like go for anything, but he was trying the whole time. And on top of that, he was landing strikes continuously. That basically, I don't know. There's just so much glossing over in this video. Okay, let me let him continue here.
Did not grow up wrestling. And as much as he's obviously worked on it, physically, he's quite a blocky, powerful guy. And his hips, he's not a very agile guy, right? You can't just swivel his hips the way some fighters can and pick this sort of stuff up. He's not made to be a defensive wrestler at all. He ends up in the crucifix pin where Khamzat is got his legs just pinned to the ground, his chest to chest. And yes, he's punching him, but what damage is that doing, really, right? It's not doing a lot, but he's making it so that du Plessis is nullifying any aggression from him,
He's saying nullifying any aggression just as he lands like a pretty heavy short elbow. He was landing elbows. I wish he would have postured up a tiny bit and maybe lay down some more elbows. That would have been great. But again, he probably made a decision at the time not to potentially give up that super, super dominant position. It was waiting for Dricus to slip up so he could land some heavy shots or slip in a submission or do whatever he was doing. I don't claim to understand by any means the intricacies and complexities of Khamzat and his team's game plan. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but I'm sure there was so much more in here than I feel like he's just looking at it through a pure entertainment lens. And like, yeah, see, at this point, you could have made it more exciting by doing this. At that point, you could have done that. It's like, what about winning? The two have to go hand in hand together. Otherwise, what are we doing? It's about competition. Yes, we want to see fights that are exciting organically. So I still want to see it within the vein of great competition, in my opinion.
Attack whatsoever. And my main complaint about this is more the negativity from Khamzat. Yes, you're controlling him, but what are you actually doing with that control? You know, wrestling is like a vehicle to get the fight where you want it so that you can then do the fucking damage. And to do the damage, you got to create some distance so that your fist can actually fucking travel to get there and actually hurt him on impact. Doing this, you look like you're fucking sawing on a fucking, you're not doing anything really to him. Yes, you're
It's really, yeah, this is really good advice. It's again, this authoritative tone is throwing me off. The point of wrestling is to get him in a position so you can posture up and do some damage. Like, is this coming from an expert? Is this coming from a coach? Is it coming from another fighter? What are you talking about? There are so many fighters that do this type of submission, this type of grounding and controlling, like Merab. That has been a dominant strategy. People are saying he's one of the GOATs of the bantamweight division. I don't understand the way that this guy is talking so authoritatively when he himself calls himself like not a, dialed into the fighting and really understanding the grappling and the wrestling. I think he'll say that in a little bit. Like, where is this? What's happening with this video with this guy's had this big following and he's speaking like this? Like, it's blowing my mind.
Training him. Yes, you're winning the rounds, whatever. This is ultimate fighting, not ultimate control. And the reason he didn't want to create that distance and go for ground and pound or potentially go more aggressive on the submissions is because that takes risk. And when you're risking it, he may be able to transition out of it, defend it, or throw an armbar up or something like that. And he just didn't even want to give him a chance.
Dricus also is in that same boat and also didn't want to give him a chance. So what you're basically saying is, okay, both of these guys, like Dricus is playing it safe, trying to protect from the submissions. Khamzat is also maybe you could say I don't think he was playing safe. He has a dominant position. Why would you give that up? But if you want to say that, because in your mind, he should have postured up and laid down heavy strikes, one of the two could have changed it up and taken on more risk. What you're putting it solely on Khamzat. Like, Khamzat is the one that should have taken more risk when he's in the dominant position. It goes the other way. It's DDP. If you're going to say anybody should have done something, it could have been him. But I don't fault DDP for doing that, because he probably would have, if he probably tried to push it too much or go for a bottom submission or whatever he could have done. I don't even know what he could have done. He probably would have gotten submitted. I don't find this to be such a case of, oh my God, they both totally dropped the ball. It was a difficult fight for DDP. I think he was surprised that Khamzat did what he did for 5 rounds straight, and he was confused and he was totally outclassed. And I mean, he was just trying to do his absolute best. But coming back to this just all falling on Khamzat's shoulders, like it's just such an irresponsible take to blast out to this massive audience when you've like just missed so many details of what really happened.
And I get that. But it's only a fight when there's a path of resistance, yeah? And the skill gap between Khamzat and du Plessis was so huge in that one department that there was no resistance. And that usually means that the guy who has no defense to what you can do is going to get finished quickly. But there was just no desire to go after it. And when you look at the career that Khamzat has had prior to this, without all of the stumbles and issues, that aggression was what made us immediate fans of this guy.
Yes, I agree with you. And it's not that the aggression was gone. He was shooting, was taking him down. He was trying. I really think this guy is just looking at the stat sheet and not really even noticing when Khamzat was trying to slip it in, but he couldn't do it. He was trying to get the finish the whole time. Even to the very end, he was trying. He just wasn't able to. The credit goes to DDP, not the criticism to Khamzat. That's how it should go.
And I'm not saying, just standing bang, chin in the air like an idiot. But you've got him right where you want him. It's not even that big of a risk. We're not asking you to go and fight like an idiot. You have the fight where you want it.
It's not that big of a risk, dude. What are you talking about? What is this? I'm really getting angry here. Like, from what authority are you speaking from? Is this what this guy's videos are when he talks about fighting? Like, to talk this authoritatively and give this type of advice? Like, I would never do that. I'll lean on Justin. If Justin wants to say it, right? Justin fought in the UFC. He's trained as a Shrink Couture. It's a different situation. I just don't even know what I'm listening to. This is crazy.
People are paying good money for this, and you're just not even giving it a show at all. And yes, it's a sport, but it's fucking show business as well. And let's be real here. None of us became fans of MMA watching this shit. Not one. Look at him holding him. Look at that. That looks so weird, man.
I want to see if this guy made videos about Merab, if this guy made videos about other fighters that do jail. I wonder if he's got a Jailton Almeida video, but no, he goes after Khamzat for this one performance, which was so dominant and so impressive. And yet he goes after Khamzat for 1 out of 9 fights and is saying the hype train is derailed. I literally am almost at a loss for words.
What is this?
But you can say, baby. Okay, this is so dumb. He plays the song and he thinks it's funny. It's so not funny.
Du Plessis is, because he's just not used to being controlled like this. And as the fight went on, it was just more and more and more of that. Chest to chest, hot and sweaty action with not a lot of combat, just a lot of this, get down, baby. Come on. And the sad thing for me is I just really believe in Khamzat's talent. I think he is a very, very talented fighter. And I just don't think he was in the right frame of mind to show that talent. Yeah, you showed you can control someone, you can lay on top of them. Well done. I never want to watch that again. Remember the old Khamzat mentally where he'd shout afterwards, I kill everybody. What happened to that? Because all you're killing now is my will to watch 25 minutes of that shit. And I think
the difference is that he's not fighting up-and-comers anymore in the UFC. He's not fighting Gerald Mearshart. He's not fighting Li Jingliang. Now, he did steamroll through Robert Whittaker, which is crazy. He's fighting Dricus du Plessis, the champion, who's been on a 9-0 streak, who steamrolled all these guys. It doesn't always go that way. How is this not like it's a dance? It's a fight between two people. And what are the expectations here? I'm like, the logic is just, I'm so confused on all of these takes.
I think that combined with all the delays in watching Khamzat fight and all of the pullouts and all of the weight misses and all the nonsense. As much as he's now champion, I think his stock is actually lower than when he first burst onto the scene and he was the most exciting fighter in the UFC.
You think his stock is lower right now after dominating, winning 50-44 in a championship fight, which has basically never been done as a challenger, just because he didn't get a finish and it wasn't as exciting as you thought. Like, this is, dude, just what you need to do is just listen to the takes, like actually do some research. I bet you this guy, this is speculation, okay? I bet you this guy probably has an assistant that goes out and gets like certain takes and clips and compiles them together. And then he kind of does an overview of the stats and then just basically busts out all this nonsense without diving in deeply. He's clear. I mean, obviously he's a casual fan. I'm not, whatever. There can be all levels of fandom. I'm not saying everybody has to be a much more hardcore fan, but it's just, if you're going to sit here and trash somebody for this entire duration of this like 18-minute video, I think you should just do some proper research. Like, see what the rest of the MMA community is saying. Is that what you... No, but anybody who would be out there right now to say that Khamzat Chimaev's stock is dropped, if they were an analyst, dude, that would be it. That'd be it. People would think they're a lunatic. This take is it's beyond left field. It's not even out of left field, beyond left field.
We now know, really, you got that to look forward to in about 12 months' time, and that's your middleweight division.
And you obviously didn't hear Khamzat say he wants to fight in October again, because, again, you probably had somebody pull clips. You're barely watching anything. He said he wants to go in October. he came out in the presser afterwards and said he's fine. He's ready to go. He didn't take any damage. So he can fight as soon as an opponent's ready and they can get the right date. You have to also realize now at least he's in the champion spot. So they have to fight him if they want a shot at the belt. But there's also scheduling issues. It's not like you can choose any date you want when you're ready. It has to line up. And they already scheduled out UFC 320 and 321 main events. Could he get on the November card? Could he get on the December card? Maybe. But there's so many scheduling and logistics that have to go on. Lastly, he's a massive star. Remember how difficult it was for Conor to get fights? Because he's such a big star. They know they have to plan it perfectly, lay it up in this great way where it's like just maximizing all the value that Khamzat Chimaev provides. These are the things that you're totally glossing over in this wildly inaccurate take.
Fucked. Now, to be fair, some people disagree. I'm going to put their points across. A few of the UFC fighters, actually. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Oh, God. I'm going to skip all this nonsense. Okay, here.
And I enjoy that side of it, but it's not my priority. I want to see two dudes who are willing to try and damage each other in there, to be courageous, to be better than the average dude walking the street, to be brave, because that's the whole point of being a fighter, right? Is to be brave. And I just don't think when you've got that level of skill and that much control, that it's brave to just lay on top of someone for that long.
He wasn't just laying on top of him. He was landing tons of knees, heavy knees. Granted, they were to like the thigh and stuff. It wasn't like knees to the midsection or whatnot. I think maybe there was a couple to the ribs. And then he was also landing some elbows and peppering them with shots. Look at the stats. There was a ton of shots. It's not going to go perfect every time. We're not going to see somebody posture up like the perfect Khabib when he was blasting Conor McGregor. Yes, that's exciting, but it's also, once again, you have to give credit to Didi. Like, what are you doing? What is this? Like, you're just having these totally unrealistic expectations on Khamzat, regardless of the opposition that he faces. Like, I don't know. I feel like this guy needs to go train a little bit, or maybe talk to a couple coaches and get a proper understanding before blasting out this video. I mean, he's got a lot of subscribers. I'm sure he could get a coach on his show to actually do some proper due diligence than what we're seeing here.
If you're a fan of the sport, okay, and you're not absolutely fascinated by the ability, like by Chimaev's ability to control someone who's as dogged and fights out of things like Dricus, who's done it time and time again, who's physically never gasses anymore, like super strong, has cardio for days, is prepared for him.
Has he prepared for him? He didn't fucking look prepared for him. It looked like a black belt versus a white belt in that regard. His takedown defense was non-existent. What is entertaining about watching a guy who...
Yeah, but what about the fact that he didn't get submitted? He was on the ground that entire time. Khamzat normally is able to get a submission, a rear naked choke, a Darce. He's amazing with those submissions, and he didn't get it. So, and listen to the coach. He obviously did. Like, it's just such a superficial, terrible take. Yeah, and the takedown defense, he probably did work on it. But as Weasel said, if you listen to his take, this is just the way that Dricus's footwork is very atypical, but it's wobbly. It's not stable. So there was a prediction in place ahead of time that just by the nature of his body mechanics, he was going to have a difficulty stopping the takedown. But the fact is, he did not get submitted through 5 rounds and 22 minutes of control time. He did prepare, and he prepared the best he could. It's just the skill differential was that great. That's how good Khamzat Chimaev is. So to say the hype train is derailed once again is, I don't even know what to say about that take.
Who's so skilled in one department, take a guy down who hasn't got a clue how to defend it, and then go chest to chest with him for 25 minutes. What is entertaining about that?
If you're not fascinated by like such a one-sided domination, man, then you have to be a casual.
I don't think anyone should want to watch a one-sided fight. The whole point of fights is the competitive element to it. That wasn't competitive, but
I disagree. So this is it. Yes, we want to see competition and at the highest level. I agree, but when both guys are at the highest level and we see this type of domination, it is something to be in awe of, because when people are so high in the game, they're at the very tippy top of the division, and yet you can still have that differential. It's mind-blowing. It's like it makes you think about the true nature of human potential. So this is something to me that's awe-inspiring, to see Dricus du Plessis going 9-0, smash all these guys and be at the top of the game where so many people are picking him to win, and then Khamzat does that and goes out there on top of it and is just that much more amazing. Like, you got to look at it through that lens. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. And so, and a moment ago, by the way, you said it was amazing when you watched him steamroll Robert Whittaker. that wasn't competitive. Robert Whittaker landed like 2 calf kicks and then got taken down and mauled. So you're not really making sense here in terms of your takes. There's a lot of incongruence. And again, I think this is just a poorly researched, like quickly thrown together video.
It also wasn't so dominant that you were able to stop the guy. It was a weird position where you do so little damage that the guy can just lay there and take these little shots for 25 minutes. Like Khamzat landed 510 strikes to 56. He controlled him for 22 minutes of a 25-minute fight. And that was the face of DDP after 500 strikes. Is that...
Dude, that's the worst picture of his face. I'm not saying it was like black eyes and crazy. His face was beat up. What is happening? What is happening? This is just straight deceitful.
Not something wrong with this picture. Why has he not got a fucking mark on it? Because
it's a blurry, whack, random side profile photo that doesn't show the marks on his face.
Strikes were doing no damage.
You never see this.
And I never want to.
At championship fights, this level of control, man, we just saw someone get crucifixed for like 15 minutes.
Oh, get your popcorn out. Just watching 2 men lay on top of each other for that long. For some men in the audience, that might have been quite arousing, but not for me. Mighty Mouse has also defended it by saying, if you don't...
I gotta stop. I can't listen to the rest of this. It's just it's so bad. You say you want to see competition, but then you want to see like a very particular type of fight. But like, what about the strategy? What about the strategy of DDP? How did that play into it? Like, this is just so terrible. And again, if you don't want, one of the things to me about this sport, as I feel a real fan, I'm not saying I'm the most diehard in the world, but like, I feel like I understand this sport. And yes, I guarantee you a lot of people who just want to see rock'em sock'em robots aren't impressed, but to go out on a limb and actually, you didn't find it entertaining. It is what it is. I can't control that, right? That's just a reaction. It's a response. It is what it is. Okay. But if you're going to then take the next leap to say the hype train is derailed for 1 out of 9 performances to, I guess, not be as exciting as you like, but all other 8 are wild and crazy and amazing. And for this one performance that you didn't find enthralling, it also happened to be one of the most dominant performances in the history of the UFC in a championship bout by a challenger. I don't know what to tell you, dog. I just don't think the sport's for you. Like, this is insane. Or you can maybe watch Power Slap, where people are getting hit and taking damage no matter what. So if you don't like the evasive action and how it isn't like pure violence the whole time, this is crazy. It's just a very irresponsible video. I had to make this video. Don't really watch that guy. It popped up on my feed. I don't even know why I clicked on it. Kind of wish I didn't, but I watched it. I was so outraged that I figured I'll pop in and just bust a video. What is up with that guy's jump, with all the jump cuts? Dude, who still does that in this age? I don't want to see all those jump cuts. It's so annoying. Can you just speak and just do it in one take? Let there be little blips, but just have it be natural. It's like so weird that somebody still has that really annoying style. All right, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. This bothered me. It's just so bad. The take is so bad. But maybe you guys agree with them. Maybe you disagree with me. Let me know in the comments. Make sure to click that like button if you do like the video. Whoo! That's all I got. Let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.